I think I'm quite worried here, guys, because this could potentially be a problem for Rivals. Hello and welcome to the channel. So what we're going to talk about here is, I think, one of the main lessons Rivals can learn from Overwatch. Now, there's a load of lessons Rivals can take from Overwatch, and in fact, it's in a good position because it can look back at the years of history of Overwatch, the way it sort of fostered its community, the way it delivered updates, the way it managed the live service hero shooter, and they can look at that and take lessons from that. But I fear they're kind of missing one of the lessons at the moment, because we are starting to see a meta develop, and this meta is around sustain. Now, what I mean by that is you're looking at triple support. You're looking at characters that have got a lot of defensive capability, so very strong defensive ultimates, or they can output a massive amount of healing. Now, what tends to happen in that environment is you start seeing less of the Duelist or DPS characters played, because they simply cannot out DPS the healing that is outputted by the support. So you tend to see more tanks come into play. This is where we go on a little bit of a history trip, because let me explain to you what the GOATS meta was from Overwatch in case you don't know. So this was the dominant team composition, the meta comp, way back in 2018. It was basically named after GOATS, which was the team that actually came up with the with the comp, and it's just a heavy sustained comp. So it had Reinhardt, Zarya, and D.Va, your three tanks, and then you'd have three supports. You know, you could have Lucio, Moira, Brig, but the one that was always in the comp all of the time was Brig, and you've generally seen a lot of Lucio played as well. And, well, you've seen loads of Moira, but Brig was the one that kind of started it off, because she added a layer of defensive capability to the supports, in which that it was very hard to kill them, it was very hard to kill her, and she had some really good abilities, like she could shield bash through barriers, so she could stun the enemy Reinhardt player. That would give your Reinhardt player a chance to then outplay him, maybe with a charge or an earth shatter or something like that. But essentially what this was, it was just a highly effective strategy, because it had massive survivability, there was synergy between all of the heroes, and it was just about like straight up outlasting the opponents. The issue with this is it became very boring to watch. So Overwatch, you know, it had the Overwatch League at the time, there was loads of money going into that, and everybody was kind of playing, well, GOATs. This meant you had star DPS players who, instead of playing tracers and characters that were really flashy and looked awesome to play, they were playing Brig, who isn't that awesome to spectate, because that's what the game was all about. Now, I guess to kind of wrap this up, I suppose we should look at the way this ended in Overwatch. Like, how did the GOATS meta end? Was there a balance patch? Was there some sort of update? Well, you have to go forward then to 2019. So you're looking at like a year. It might even be longer that GOATS was in effect. Role queue came into force in Overwatch, which was obviously 2-2-2. So 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 2 supports. So that killed GOATS, because, well, you couldn't have 3 supports and 3 tanks anymore. They also made changes as well. They did nerf Brig and nerfed a bunch of other heroes as well. But that got rid of the GOATS meta. The unique situation with Rivals is we know they're not bringing in hero bans. I'm sorry, they have got hero bans. They're not bringing in role restrictions or role queue. So that means, in theory, you can still play whatever you like. So you can play 3 Strategists and 3 Vanguards. So that's the Overwatch preamble. That's the GOATS education. That's how we kind of get to this. And this is why I'm a little bit worried. And this is also really good for Rivals, because we've got all this like knowledge that just didn't exist before Overwatch was a game. So in a lot of ways, Overwatch had to deal with this themselves. They had to discover these issues. Whereas with Rivals, we can see the issues coming in, and it's a bit of a meme. Like, you can look around the Overwatch community and you'll see people going like, oh yeah, you know, I remember this back in 2017, or all the same issues are cropping up. They will, because it's a hero shooter, and it's a 6v6 hero shooter without role queue. I still think the game shouldn't have role queue, don't get me wrong, because you've got to remember Rivals has got hero bans at higher levels. I do think the hero bans should be reduced and actually come down to lower ranks. I think that would be pretty cool. But that does add a whole other element. And in fact, you can say, when you look at hero bans right now, you typically see like Hela, Hawkeye getting banned, etc. You know what? Ban the supports and see what happens, because that could be really cool. And in a way, that's sort of how to get out of this issue of a high sustain sort of triple support meta. But again, that comes down to players. But I do think the devs can have a little bit of oversight on this. And I think one of the things which they've done recently, which kind of give me a little bit of an alarm went off in my head. Although, again, I am a bit hypocritical here because I've been playing a lot of Rocket. Well, Rocket got a straight up healing buff. And when we start seeing healing numbers increased, that only really kind of leads in one direction. Everybody has got tons of health and they never die because there's loads of healing on the field. Okay, so let's look at how this manifests in Rivals. So I think the first point is lack of counterplay. So we've got defensive support ultimates, and when you're playing with triple support, you could have absolutely loads of these defensive support ultimates, and this is going to make it very difficult to secure kills. So you could have Lunar Snow, you could have Mantis. The list just goes on and on. These support ults are incredibly strong. Now, there is a little bit of counterplay, which I think is actually coming to the fore. And again, Rocket, it is one of the reasons for this. So Lunar Snow is not invincible in her ultimate. She's just got a ton of healing, right? She doesn't make everyone invincible in the ultimate. They've just got a ton of healing. However, if you use Rocket's ultimate, it damage boosts your team. And if you've got, for example, like a Punisher on your team, and you throw down the ammo station, Punisher doesn't need to reload, and he can actually just kill them. He can just kill them through the ultimate. So it is possible, but obviously that would require a lot of accuracy. These heroes are going to move around, so it's going to be difficult to do that. On the other end of the spectrum, if you look at things like Invisible Woman's ultimate, again, it's massively strong. It gives tons of healing in the area, blocks line of sight, but if you use Moon Knight's ultimate on it, it basically kills everybody in it. Now, I do think Moon Knight's ultimate is a little bit broken at the moment because there's no warning of it. It literally is just instantly cast at your team. You can't get out of it. I mean, I had one cast on me, and I was literally in the middle of it. I spammed 2 jumps with Rocket, and I didn't even get out of it. It just wiped me out. It's way too quick. There needs to be some sort of audio build up to it, I think, before it just triggers. So there is bits of counterplay coming in. But I mean, if you've got Invisible Woman, Mantis, and Lunar Snow on your team, there are 3 ultimates there that have got high sustain. And so they kind of go in conjunction with, well, having tanks on your team who could benefit from high sustain. And suddenly you want those tanks to be near you. And then suddenly you start building a death ball. Suddenly you start building a high sustain meta. Suddenly you start going into a goat meta. There also is kind of a bit of an issue with like unbalanced ultimate charge rates. So supports just healing all the time. Loads of healing, loads of ult charge. This is giving you ults available dead quick. I mean, like Cloak and Dagger is another one that's got a really good sustain ultimate. And sometimes you get Cloak and Dagger having multiple ults, maybe even in a fight. I mean, Mantis ult charges really quick. Lunar Snow ult, they charge really quick. It always seems like whenever you need the ultimate, it is available and you can drop it. So, yeah, I think there is a little bit of a balance issue. But again, use the Moon Knight example of a Duelist ultimate, which is just like, it's too quick. It just kills everyone super fast. There's no way of, there's no like counterplay to it. I'm not against ultimate. I mean, in fact, okay, let me just be very clear here. So Iron Man ultimate, I think is really good because there is a wind-up time. There is a window of counterplay. There are a lot of things you can do. You can either kill Iron Man, you can get away from his line of sight, or you can try and take out his projectile. Penny Parker can fire a web at it is one example. Or you see like all the memes of Thor, like literally giving away his life, just diving at the maximum pulse and taking it on the chin like an absolute legend. In that case, Thor shouldn't die, should he? He should like buff him or something. It'd be amazing. So yeah, that ultimate, there is counterplay around it. But again, look at Moon Knight's ultimate. It's just boom, it's in your face. And the support ults are the same. Lunar Snow, oh, she's dancing. It's going to be really hard to kill her. Yeah, there are ways to kill her and kill a team, but it's, you know, that's going to take a lot of accuracy. Invisible Woman drops her ult. Mantis drops her ult. You know, it's, yeah, there's a lot of reward there for really not much sort of, I don't want to say skill, but you just press a button and you kind of win. I mean, I think Lunar Snow's is probably the most egregious because you get like, what is it, 12 seconds of we just don't die now. Oh dear. Boring gameplay. Now, this is the main thing, right? We know Rivals is more sort of focused on the, again, this sounds derogatory when I say this, but like the casual experience. Rivals, it just wants to be fun. And this is why everyone's playing Rivals, because it is bloody fun. You can have moments that are awesome, and we want to keep having those moments. The problem is, when you start going into more of a sustained style meta, it does become a bit boring. If you've got heroes that are flashy, they've got high movement, they've got high damage, but maybe they've got low health, they find it hard to flourish in these metas because they just, by nature, don't have that sustain. So you end up seeing those not being played, seeing the heroes who can heal, the heroes who can absorb a lot of damage, and then team fights are really slow. The game speed is really, really wound down and it becomes really slow, and it can become boring. And again, you'll see this manifest more often in esports than it would do at sort of like the level that we're playing at. But obviously everything trickles down, and you don't want a boring esport, and also we don't want a boring game to play. Now, like I said, guys, this isn't like every game is going to be triple support meta, because everyone's still kind of playing whatever they like. But it is becoming clear that triple support is a very strong comp. But again, like I said, a way around that is banning supports out once you get to Diamond and above, which I think is a really cool idea. One of the other issues with sustained metas, and we've seen this in Overwatch as well, is you don't really get punished for bad positioning. You get punished if you've got poor cooldown management, so you're not cycling your cooldowns correctly. But if you're out of position, it doesn't kind of really matter, because you've either got a ton of health so you can get back into position, or you're going to get a ton of healing anyway. And yeah, whereas if you look at DPS heroes, they're out of position, or maybe you've got a comp that only has, God forbid, 2 supports, or even 1. Single support is such a nightmare. If you're the support player, then it becomes a case of like, well, it's more of a glass cannon comp. You may be doing a lot of damage, but if the enemy team are rolling out with a support comp, then you're not going to win. But I think what I'm saying here is it's easier when you're just all in a big death ball and you're all standing together, and you're just going through the motions effectively. You're not using elevation on the map. You're not flanking. You're just all together in a big death ball. You're walking forward and you're pressing abilities. It's kind of not great. What about the Duelist as well? Right, so I know everyone is like, oh, there's so many Duelist heroes. This is absolutely outrageous. But I mean, the one thing we don't want is for a entire class of heroes to sort of be suboptimal. That'd be insane. You know, and we've seen a lot of things change. Even over the couple of weeks since launch, where, well, it's been a month, hasn't it now? A month and a bit. You'll see, like, everyone thought Rocket was terrible. Now everyone thinks Rocket is great, and now everyone has sort of worked out Rocket's ultimate is actually quite good. It's not going to keep you alive, but if your team want to be aggressive with it, it will allow you to break through maybe a more sustain-heavy comp, because you've got that massive damage boost, especially if it's with heroes like Punisher, who can really benefit from Rocket just having the team up infinite ammo buff, which he gives him as well. So I think, like, yeah, you don't want to see a whole class of heroes not be used, and I don't think we're at that. And I don't think we're going to be at that for a while. I mean, the whole point of this video is I can see the early, like the early tendrils of a support. I don't want to say a support meta, but a very heavy sustain meta starting to emerge. And the question will be, what do the devs do about this? Are they going to nerf support? I don't know. Are they just going to rely on the community saying, well, you know what, you've got your ban system, just ban them away. But what does that mean for everybody else? Now, there is one thing to be said about hero shooters, that you generally see the people moaning are high-level players. A lot of the streamers will be high-level, the YouTubers, the content creators. They're not going to be playing in bronze, silver, gold. Now, obviously, at those ranks, you are playing against people of similar skill, or at least you should be. Obviously, at any rank, there should be a similar skill. But you will see massive diversity of heroes. You're not going to see everyone in silver going, oh, no, we need to play triple support. If we're not playing triple support, we're going to lose. The thing is, as you start getting up into diamond, you'll start seeing that, oh, we need triple support. And then above that, you'll see it more often. That's where things become a bit of an issue. But the issue always is, competitive probably isn't the most popular game mode. I think quick players, I think the devs have even said that, that it is the most popular mode by quite a bit. And people's experience with the game isn't like we're in these ultra meta team comps. People are playing the heroes that they like because they like those heroes, and that will always happen. But I do think this will be interesting to see how the devs respond to this, whether they just ignore it, whether they just let bans be their thing and we have to start adapting as a community to banning certain heroes, or they do come out with balance changes. It will be very interesting. But the reason why I wanted to make this video is just because I think there are a lot of things we are seeing as ex-Overwatch. Well, we can't say ex-Overwatch players. Nobody's an ex-Overwatch player. We play Overwatch, right? We just don't play it as much as we used to. But we can see these things developing. You know, you can go away from stuff like balance and you can start looking at things like the way the lore is delivered. You can look at the lore being delivered inside Rivals, and each season is themed in the game world and it's delivering in-game lore, and the maps are all based around the lore and everything is like to do with the lore. Whereas you look at Overwatch, it's a bit disjointed. It had its moment in the spotlight, it had its animated shorts, which were absolutely incredible, but then it faded away. It failed to deliver lore in a very meaningful way. It's all over the place, it's disjointed now, and a lot of the seasons just have nothing to do with lore anyway. They're just like a random theme for a season, which I think is frankly criminal when you've got such an insanely rich lore around your game. You shouldn't just be having a season because it's Valentine's Day, you know what I mean? You should have all the seasons should have an in-game lore theme. But anyway, that's me ranting about Overwatch stuff. But Rivals is doing that right, so we are seeing a lot of things, a lot of lessons that they are learning. What I want you guys to do in the comments below is let me know what you think about this. Are you seeing a meta develop? Do you think, in fact, what do you think is the most crucial lesson Rivals can actually learn from Overwatch? I think there's a bunch of lessons. Like, I'm pretty sure I could make like a 2-hour-long video with like breaking down absolutely every single minute detail of all the lessons that could be learned from Overwatch, all the mistakes it made, and the things that it got right as well, and what Rivals could learn from that. All right, guys, I've been Stylosa. Thank you for watching today's video. And yeah, if you did enjoy the video, do like the video. That helps an absolute ton. I know I say that at the end of every video, but my thinking on this is if you've watched the video all the way, then I will ask you if you would like to like the video if you enjoyed it. I'm not going to ask you at the start of the video because that's absolutely stupid. Also, like asking randomly in the middle is kind of stupid as well. Yeah, subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy it. And well, yeah, I'm off to go and play more Rocket because he's got great healing. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you soon.